Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so I had so much fun reading this week's chapter of Ian Zero because we know when it comes to Hiro Mashima's art that there's two things that his art style actually excels at. That's one, fan service. We know that he's basically the king of all fan service when it comes to manga. And two, action sequences. There is no one currently doing manga that I think does a better job doing action sequences than Hiro Mashima, and he just shows that off in this week's chapter. Which most of the chapter actually is action. We do get the plot moving along a little bit, but for the most part, it's just mostly action, and I loved every second of it. Okay, so we pick up where the last chapter left off, or kind of where it left off, with basically Shiki and Rebecca and Happy being, confronted by that Sibber guy. I think that's what his name was. Basically, the guy in the giant mech who's running that gang that's after Professor Wise. And we actually find out exactly why they're after him is because with that briefcase or that box that we saw him clutching at the end of the last chapter in that alleyway, apparently that's money that they own that they had. That apparently he stole from them. So they're after him because they want their money back. And when they try to question Rebecca about where it exactly he is, she tells them that they don't know. And when they try to leave, Sibber basically just attacks them. And it's actually kind of fun. We actually see him kind of talking back and forth with this little bird that he keeps there, kind of like a pet, kind of like the way Happy is. He's talking about it. We see a funny moment where Shiki's kind of, making fun of the fact that he's talking to a bird. And then Happy basically makes fun of him saying, yeah, the same way you guys talk to a cat. But anyway, Sibber goes on the attack, trying to basically take them out because he still thinks they're working with Professor Wise. And Shiki just grabs Rebecca and Happy, uses Ether Gear to basically shift gravity. So instead of walking straight on like a flat path, they're actually just, it seems like they're falling down from the sky. And he basically just uses that to fly them out of there. And it's an intense scene. Like seriously, this sequence where we see Shiki flying with Rebecca and Happy out of the way, like through the entire city to get away from Sibber, while Sibber's chasing them in the giant mech, it's just so well done. It felt like reading old school Dragon Ball Z because Dragon Ball Z in the old school days, Akira Toriyama was the god when it came to fighting sequences. When it came to action, no one really did it better than him. And reading this week's chapter, reading the way or watching, like looking at the way that Shiki was flying through the air trying to get away from them, and then eventually had to turn around and use his Ether Gear to destroy the mech from stopping it from basically hurting Rebecca. That action sequence just reminded me so much of that, and it was so well done that the only way I could think it actually could be done better is if it was animated, which actually felt like reading this chapter, reading that action sequence, felt like watching an animated series or watching like a fighting sequence in actual anime. And now after reading this week's chapter, I really do hope that the series actually does well enough to get an anime because I want to see this sequence animated. Anyway, the three of them get away from Sibber, and we actually see the little bird that he was talking to, kind of yelling at him for letting them get away. But he seems really confident at the end of that scene that he's actually going to run into them again. I don't know why he's that confident, but he seems to know. It seems like he knows for a fact that he's going to end up seeing them again. But anyway, after that, they end up heading to a bar they actually found out about from Professor Wise. Not the current one, but the future one that, Rebecca and Happy actually know. He had told them about that bar, so they decided to go there to get some food and figure out exactly what their next plan is. And while they're there, they just run into Wise. So, like, he's literally just sitting at the bar just hanging out. And they basically just tell him everything. Like, literally, as soon as he kind of, like, freaks out a little bit for seeing them again, they kind of just break down the whole thing about them being from 50 years in the future. They even show him a picture of what he's going to look like in the future. And I find it kind of funny that after everything he found out from them in this chapter, the thing he was most upset about was the fact that in the future he kind of goes bald. He starts balding a little bit. But anyway, after they give him the rundown, he basically tells them, well, if you truly are from the future, like you said, then you have to go. Because if you interact with anything that's going on in the current timeline, you could change things and create a paradox. So just get the fuck out of here. And Shiki basically, not Shiki, Rebecca tells him, yeah, that's kind of the plan, but we have no way of getting out of here. So can you help us out? We don't know exactly how the fuck we even time travel to begin with, so can you help us figure out exactly how to do it? And before he can even say, or actually no, he tells him no, he tries to get up and leave, and then when he notices that his briefcase is gone, the one that he stole from Sibber, we see Shiki on the roof. So yeah, Shiki apparently decided to switch his class from adventurer to thief. So yeah, Shiki basically steals the briefcase from Wise. Now he's just playing around a little bit, he's not actually trying to steal it, he's just using his Ether Gear to kind of like sit on the ceiling so he can play a prank on Professor. But then it starts to beep a little bit. The briefcase actually starts to beep. And then out of nowhere, Shiki's powers literally just vanish. Like, they literally just stop working. He falls on the ground and hits his head. And then the briefcase opens up as soon as it hits the ground. And we see that there's just this little robotic girl in the briefcase basically telling Professor Wise, hey, master, that's not any way to basically treat your property. And that's where the chapter ends, where we find out that this little robot girl is actually what was inside the briefcase. Not money like we initially expected. And I'm kind of wondering exactly if Professor Wise knew about that, Because when the briefcase opens up and he sees exactly the little girl just kind of like hiding inside there, and by the way, she's not like she doesn't look like a little girl. She's basically just a female version of a robot, a tiny robot that was hiding inside the briefcase. But anyway, when he sees her in there, he looks confused. Like, he looks surprised by the fact that she's actually in there. So I'm wondering if I guess he didn't know about it to begin with, which has me wondering, all right, so did he actually try to steal money? Because I was initially under the suspicion that basically they stole technology that he built and they were planning on selling it, and he just wanted it back, which obviously that actually was what Silver's plan was. But if the professor was unaware what exactly was inside the briefcase, that means he really was just a thief trying to steal the money. But I don't know, maybe in the next chapter we find out that, he's just surprised that she's awake or that she's active, and he thought she was deactivated or something like that, and that's why he's surprised, and he actually knew that she was actually inside the briefcase all along. I don't know, but for the most part, it seems a little suspect that he was a little bit surprised by the fact that she was in there instead of money. But that's literally all that happens in the chapter. Like I said, it was pretty much mostly action. We had a huge action sequence with Shiki flying away with Rebecca and Happy, and then finally destroying the robot. Like I said, it was an amazing sequence. If you haven't read the chapter, go check it out for yourself. It was probably the most well done action sequence I've seen in a while for manga. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the chapter. That's it for the review. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below with your thoughts on the chapter, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.